Hi, I'm Artie Eggendorf. I'm one of the people whose voices are joining in the chorus for healing on this earth. And the particular song and dance I've been given to pass on is called Energy's Way. And in that work, I will show you a new way to stand and walk as never before. And the mood and the spirit is best conveyed as often a picture worth 1,000 words. This, like the original learning to move, stand and walk. And what's great about this particular picture, you'll see this little person has left hand up and right leg back and is going opposite. We're going to learn how to do that consciously. For all kinds of reasons, it'll become clear. And before I get up and show you and guide you, let me also share one of the greatest inventions of the 20th century by a highly visionary, super geek named Buckminster Fuller. But he was much more than a geek. He was a great spirit, visionary. And what he wanted most of all was to guide us and inspire us to turn our worldwide system of weaponry into what he called livingry. And for that he insisted that we need to emerge out of our ideas that all of us have to become merely specialists in particular niches to earn a living. We need to earn life itself, serve life itself, by having everything goes on our business, even though we can't become experts at it all. One of his great inventions is this little device he called the jitterbug, because you can turn it this way and this way. It models how energy goes throughout the entire cosmos. And what is this? This is a system that has been anticipated by ancient wisdom, East and West, depicted in another painting that I used in an earlier videotape that you can also see where I discuss this in more detail, where the energy centers of the central figure are shown to correspond with the constellations of the zodiac. For a long time, culture has thought of that as an interesting metaphor or poetic sort of gloss. But there's a lot of exact science to it. From ancient times it's been known, and I'm repeating something I've said before, but very good because it's not yet familiar. The number of equal-sized spheres that can fit together around a central one is exactly 12. There's an image from Wikipedia. And what's significant about that, 12 around 1, you'll start thinking, 12 plus 1 times the moon goes around the earth, 12 constellations in one zodiac, 12 cranial nerves in one head, 12 ribs in one chest, 12 meridians in Chinese medicine in one body. And Buckminster Fuller found that there are 12 vectors of equilibrium in every energy field. And when they go together and the endpoints are linked by lines of the same length as those vectors or radii that connect the central ball to each of the 12, you get a figure called the cube octahedron, which models energy throughout the universe from our smallest particles to our cells and systems and so on. And what's great about this, before we go to stand and walk, is this is going on all through us. Only our ideas about structure and form and shape have closed it down and turned it off. So we need to have this idea more clearly so we can welcome more what is most natural, full, and just turns out empirically, when you can read energy and test quantitatively as well as qualitatively, what draws in energy far more than the traditional instructions given for doing things that are meditative or yogic or qigong or energy healing, because all those are good, they have great things, but when harnessed to a fuller understanding, you can bring the light of understanding into the love of coherence and connection, and into the power of action. So let me show you. The one universe Latin, one turning, universe. Action and reaction always is making two. And the two have a relation between them. So the two is always making three. That's ancient wisdom, but here it is in Bucky Fuller's Octahedron. You can collapse it and you get the triangle. All form is basically triangular. Not for nothing that trigonometry, triangularness, was found by the ancients to model the movements of the heavens and much else, all wave functions. How does 3 become 4? The ends turn up. And so what? That's a tetrahedron. Tetra, four-sided figure where the equilateral triangles of the four faces make a structure that is the most efficient closed solid and is, as Bucky found, the basis for structure throughout the cosmos, all the elements, all crystal structures, and not for nothing that in our three-sectioned body of head, torso, and limbs, they happen to have 4 in each one, 4 brain lobes, 4 heart chambers, 4 limbs. And then we notice it has 6 sides. So, well, it's an inside and outside. And this structure is this, what Bucky also called the vector equilibrium, is made for ideally equal tendencies of imploding and exploding. This is the universe, which physics now knows reciprocates or goes from plus to minus 10 to the 24th times a second. So why do we need to have all that? So it's vivid that this is what's possible to be happening, to synchronize and harmonize with how energy works all the way through us when we're most free, open, and supple, and to harmonize with the universe to say, yes, fill me. So that's what we'll do now. You see that I'm a one-man operation, which is part of the advertisement. A guy in his early part of his 8th decades has to learn how to do all this to get the message out. But it's fun, I'm having a ball. So you know how to stand, right? You know how to stand. But you, I'm talking to you. I have no idea anything about you, but I do know this. You're watching, and you only can because you are someone, some of the oneness. And like all of that oneness, you're ever recognizable to yourself and other people who know you, but always changing, accumulating experience, and moment to moment to moment to moment, new. So how to do justice to that is creatively. What the ancient disciplines couldn't articulate, because they didn't have it, is to use the word jazz. The new incarnation of the Western myth of liberation from internal and external enslavement was brought by an enslaved people up the river from New Orleans to celebrate jazz, how to walk and talk and sing and dance and pray to raise the roof, always improvisationally. Knowing the chords, knowing the structures, knowing the tune, but being able to do it new. So I'm going to show you this as structures and like chordal combinations, but explore so you're ever doing it anew. So first, as you stand, notice you can shift your weight. I'm going to just say arbitrarily one leg. Shift it to your left leg so you can feel your right foot more softly on the floor. And you can press down with the ball of your foot and then shift it patiently, gently, sensitively to the heel. And you might have to compensate with your other leg to balance. And then forward again and back again. And I'm using my hands. You don't have to use your hands, but to make it more vivid what I'm doing. And then outside and inside, outer edge, inner edge. Stop and feel. Maybe stand on both feet. Notice you may have more feeling in your right foot. You've just come in there to where you're usually on automatic. So you can allow more feeling. Now circle around clockwise, around the ball, the outer edge, the heel, the inner edge, and go around another couple of times. 3, 1, 2, 3, all structure. In sequence, when we observe, we see something. That's no big deal. See it again. Oh, it starts to sink in. Really? Is that happening? See it a third time, it starts to form. 1, 2, 3, like a triangle in time. And you're there to observe the 3, you make a tetrahedral structure. Interesting, huh? Why we need 1, 2, 3, and you there make 4. That starts to be a system. So being systematic, go 3 times the other way with your foot. Stop. And now notice, likely even more feeling. And now shift to your right hip, which you can move forward and back. Again, a couple more times. And then out to the right and over to the left a couple more times. And notice that you're moving your knee and your ankle and your foot all together just by moving from your hips, which are the center of power in our bodies. The biggest muscles are attached to the hip, the thighs, the butt, the gut, and the back. It's also, in all energy studies, the root of the greatest power, and they don't explain why in Kundalini and other systems, but the challenge is always to bring the root up. Why is that? We now can say that's where we're least aware and conscious. That's what we call material reality. It's actually the cosmic welcome for us to bring heaven to earth and lift it up. So we move from the hip more and more awareness. That's what we do. We incarnate to elevate. So now shift to the other foot. So you have your weight on your right foot, and this time you can go forward and back with your foot by moving your left hip forward and back a few times, then to the right and left a few times, then circling, say, clockwise and counterclockwise a few times. And you may notice, if you're sensitive, you just got more grounded. You didn't do a whole heck of a lot. You didn't do an hour of yoga or 15 minutes of work in the gym, but you didn't do squats. But subtly, you're more in touch with all of you down there. Now, let's notice that as you go even more patiently, gently, sensitively, patiently, think this, think this, think this. Gently, feel this, feel this, feel this. Sensitively respond to this, just what's happening, moment to moment. You'll be able to turn your hips so that your right hip goes forward and around to the right and back, as if you were making a clock turn on the floor under your right side. And as you do, you can begin to imagine you're practicing to walk. And if you keep doing that and loosen up, you may notice some changes that spread from your hip, not only down into your knee and ankle and foot, all of them circling right. But you may notice that if you were to walk by taking a step forward with that foot, you would likely contract a little. And as you do, your right hip coming forward, but your right shoulder's going back. Come on back again. Your foot forward, your right foot forward. Come forward on that right foot and notice if you're most open, your left shoulder wants to go forward and your right shoulder back. And you come back. And do that a few times. And then make it into a kind of slow motion dance. And you may notice you're rocking and circling. You may notice your hip goes forward, your right hip, and around clockwise. And so does your left shoulder. But if you switch and put your left foot forward, you go around counterclockwise as you step out and come back. And the right shoulder follows. And what's the left shoulder doing? Equal and opposite, but the other side of a figure eight. What your head is doing? Some version of this. Now, you're not going to get all this together the first time you look at this. But you have 13 major joints. Your ankles, your knees, your hips, your shoulders, your elbows, your wrists, your head, or neck. No accident that there are 12 energy centers in the highest yoga, Western Kabbalah, in one body, just like 12 constellations in one zodiac, and as you saw, 12 vertices in every cubo-octahedron or vector equilibrium of energy fields. It's just all elegant harmonics. So learning how to pay attention to each note as if you're learning to play an instrument. And each note needs its own distinct care and attention for you to feel and hear it. And only bit by bit will you get them to go together. But let's not go for perfection, we're exploring. So to move them all together, you can take a step forward with your right foot, forward with your left foot, forward with your right, and forward with your left. And yes, in previous tapes from years back, I've shown how you can do this in a figure eight on the floor. 5 steps out, 5 steps back, and around 5 steps on the other side. But today on this tape, I want to bring it together and be more full as something you can go back over on your own. So I can get a whole lot of material in one clip that you can have and keep track of. And for this, I want to show you how you can use your arms, shoulders, elbows, wrists, and hands to amplify how much you can pull in even more. Many people know signs of devotion in yoga or mudras. Well, this is kind of a mudra of mudras. I'm getting down since I've tested as a one-man show to get on camera here. If you take your arms at your sides, you know, you can lift them. And however your shoulders and arms go, mine with a little bit of staying, what can I say, fluid with subtle body work, they just go like this. Yours might not go like that right now. But if you go up, you can go down. And you can go up and down. And now I'm not going to do 3 times there. I'm going to cross them. So go up and cross however you can. It may be just like this. It may be a little bit more. But have your arms come down. And yes, there are all kinds of ways of explaining this through neuroscience and all the rest. But reversing and the figure eights is actually the way energy goes throughout the cosmos. There's always an interplay of toroidal fields. So it's not the brain that tells you that this is good. The brain gets its idea from Mama Cosmos. So people who examine that in the laboratory say, oh, it's the brain. Well, it is also the brain, but not because of the brain. Okay? So we keep our thinking straight. So go on up again, and our arms come down. And then what they can do at the bottom is reverse again and come up Now, we can, at the bottom, after they have reversed, go the opposite way and have them come up, reversed, and come back down. Cross again, and come on back up. And one more time, because this is not so easy. Cross again, and come on up. And then we're ready. You may not be ready, but at least see this, to do a figure eight with our arms and hands. Only if we do them where they have three sections, one time we do it is going to go one way, and then it's going to reverse. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, just like waltz time. Just like the sequence of seeing something, seeing it again, seeing it a third time. Oh, that makes a triangular shape. Oh, wow. Okay? Mama Cosmos dances in waltz time, just the way she goes. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All the trinities of light, love, and power, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, head, torso, limbs, it's just her song. So we start at the bottom, we come on up, and cross, come on down halfway, uncross, come on down, and notice what happens to the bottom. We cross, we go on up, and this second time, we come down halfway without crossing, but we cross over in the middle. Come on down, uncross, and go on up. After 2 times, we begin again. Up at the top, cross, come on down. Down at the bottom, cross, come on up, cross, and come down. Now, unless you're one of these professional line dancers or you do a lot of dancing, putting all this together the first time through, it's probably not going to be a piece of cake. But you see it, you can replay this, and you know, I don't know about you, but I have these America Got Talent and Britain Got Talent and all the rest of that stuff. They're preteens who get on doing the most amazing things. Well, how'd you learn that? I saw a video on YouTube, and I just watched it about 500 times, and then you learn, right? So I figure that's what this will be good for. So if you take a step, and your arms go all the way up, you can start bringing them down, take another step, and then as they get to the bottom, another step, get up to the top, and as they come down, take the left again. And notice going patiently, gently, sensitively may come a little bit more easily if you do it this way. So, that's a lot, but there's one more thing. The greatest power in us is speech. Why is that so? The 11th energy center, 7/11 is the best approximation we have for a ratio that approximates half of pi in a circle, but its mysterious number just happens to be the 11th center. And I could tell you why, looking in Genesis, what's the 11th utterance? It's a secret one. And God said all the other 10. Or it's the Lord's Prayer. Jesus has, thine is the kingdom, the power, the glory. It just happens to be the 11th little bit of the Lord's Prayer. But it's the voice. And all the great disciplines will say it is speaking truth into being. So, how do we bring the voice into this as a figure eight? Well, it becomes improvisational. So that any chant or prayer or song or set of affirmations, you know, when brought into the moving that you do, figure eighting all through your body and your arms, maybe on the ground as well. So you see, you add your voice, and you might not have to do more than 2 or 3 laps of this to get a very strong hit and be tingling. I'm going to use a sound that is the original language of the Bible for the voice out of the burning bush that we translate I am that I am, and I just do the I am part, Eye, which you can find many, many places. So as the final bit here, I will end by just doing 1/2 lap, and then we'll sign off. Okay? To conclude, another picture worth 1,000 words. This is the spirit of how to be with you patiently, gently, sensitively. Not just to imitate like a piece of history. But then the spirit of how to take this. Have me with you, however is fitting and good, not as some special anybody, but as recognition of how we now in this time, in this world, can be with one another. Whether you and I ever have anything to do with each other again, or it's just this, a meeting for all time. And I want to introduce the people who've been my greatest teachers of the nature of that kind of connection. Josh, Sarah, Sam, and Sergio. You can probably tell it's a blended family. They all get along great. Not all of them, but 3. I was able to hold as infants soon after birth. And they taught me step by step how to go from holding them like this to putting them on my shoulder or swinging them around and doing all kinds of things so that we had the time of our lives. Never more ecstatically joyful. And then progressively, how to have them figuratively more and more on these shoulders and how to stand for them so that they could see and feel, reach and actually move and live and accomplish beyond anything I could ever see in my life. So standing so that others can be on one's shoulders is the kind of parenting that doesn't require literal offspring. We're all in the process of giving our shoulders, our lives, to stand in for all that is to come and follow in the very next moment and for the generations to come. So in that spirit, I offer this as something to stand on. Not to revere other than for as long as it's useful, for you to go on far beyond what can be foreseen from here. So thank you for letting me share what you can probably tell is the work of a lifetime. May you have that joy in yours and your way. Enjoy and blessings to you.